Hello, Rebel Scientist. Today we're going to start wrapping up photosynthesis and actually talking about, you would almost call it the second half of photosynthesis, and it goes by the name of cellular respiration. So a lot of people think respiration is like when you breathe, right? You breathe in oxygen, breathe out carbon dioxide. We're going to see that this word cellular respiration is not so much about the breathing, but about the gases that go in and gases that go out into this process of photosynthesis. When we started talking about photosynthesis, we started with these notes, and you should have them in your interactive notebook. We went on to talk about the reactants or the ingredients that go into photosynthesis, and we said it's light energy, carbon dioxide, and water. And then we have their arrow, and then that leads to our products. What did the plant make from those ingredients it had? Well, it makes oxygen, and they also make glucose. So as animals, we absolutely need both of those things. So to remind you, when we look at plant and animal cells and compare them, we learned that chloroplasts are found only in plants. And that's the site where glucose and oxygen are made. The mitochondria, on the other hand, that organelle, we find it in both plants and animals. And it's used to break down the glucose and make ATP energy. So the main thing I want you to realize is that the chloroplasts make the glucose, the mitochondria breaks down the glucose. So in a plant cell, you have the mitochondria, the chloroplasts making the glucose, and then it goes right here to the mitochondria and gets used up. In animal cells, we have to eat the glucose, but it also goes to the mitochondria to get busted up. Okay? So we have some things definitely in common there. So again, in reviewing our wrap, we see that the reactants are the water and the carbon dioxide that come into the leaf, as well as the radiant energy. And then we zoomed in and said, yeah, that's all happening right here in our chloroplast. The water and carbon dioxide are coming in, and then so is the solar energy or radiant energy. And what do we get? We get a product, and the product are, in this case, two of them, glucose and oxygen. So now we have glucose. Now what the heck do we do with it? Or what does the plant do with it? So again, mitochondria are found in both plant and animal cells. In plant cells, they make the glucose, then they bust up their own glucose. Animals, we eat the glucose, and then we bust up the glucose. But in either case, it happens in the mitochondria. Okay? And we find mitochondria in all cells because all living organisms need energy to be able to run their cells. So here, this is what we call cellular respiration. So remember, we've already made the glucose. It already happened. That was in the chloroplast. Or as an animal, you ate the glucose that was made in the chloroplast of that lettuce or tomato or peach or whatever it is that you ate, or bread that's full of glucose as well. So we call the second half of this process cellular respiration. We made the glucose, now we got to use up the glucose. Okay? So it happens in the mitochondria, and we call the mitochondria cell the powerhouse of the cell. Why? Because it's going to take that glucose in, it's going to bust it apart. When it pulls apart the molecules, they're going to release energy. So in this case, now our product, The reactants are what going in. Here it says reactants. What goes in? Glucose and oxygen. They're going to go into the mitochondria. It's going to get busted apart, and it's going to give off a couple of things. It's going to give off a little bit of water. It's going to give off carbon dioxide, and it's also going to give off all this energy. Okay, so you can see here, and there's different experiments. Like if you get a Ziploc bag and you put it around some leaves on a tree outside and kind of seal it up as much as you can. If you go back in a couple of days, you're going to find some water in there, because plants do almost like you sweat, so do plants. They give off some water. The carbon dioxide is also given off. So this should tell you that even if there were no animals on our planet, plants would be able to stay alive, because they even make their own CO2 as well. But the biggest part and important part that we're looking at is this right here. When it busts up this molecule of glucose and pulls the atoms apart one from the other, it gives out this energy. And these energies are like, I don't know, little M&Ms, little Skittles sort of, that travel all over the cell to give energy to the nucleus and the cell membrane and the cytoplasm and all the other organelles that are in the cell and that need energy to run. Okay? So we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but this is the other half. You made the glucose, now we're going to use the glucose to make that. So keep in mind that we went from radiant energy, that's where it all started, right, with the sun, and we end up with chemical energy. That's our chemical transformation. So we'll continue this tomorrow. I hope y'all have a great day. See you soon.